to the computer. Hello and welcome, everybody. This is John Schumacher, just doing a quick check in the Facebook group to make sure that we are coming through loud and clear within the group. Today we're going to be talking about what's working in paid traffic for 2019 and beyond. So I'm going to be sharing some insights on when and why to start using Facebook for your business. We'll see what Ben will be on in just a moment here. I just sent him an invite to the webinar. It looks like Zoom had changed a few things recently, so he should be hopping on here momentarily, but it looks like we are streaming successfully inside of the Facebook group. So anyway, paid traffic is one of those mystical creatures that a lot of experts and B2B consultants want to use, but not sure how to use it or how to get started using it, or when to use it, how much to spend, how to hire help. What order to start using ads in, which a lot of people don't even think about, and funnels and trends and those type of things. So we're going to be talking a bit about that here today during this discussion. So, hey Ben, what's up? We should have Ben on here, so hopefully you can hear us okay. Can you hear us? Can you talk?
Hello.
There he is. A little quiet.
All right, let's see what we're doing. Is this any better?
That's a little better. Yep. So let's see, make sure we're streaming cool in Facebook. We're good to go. Let's see, we should be side by side. There he is. Looks like he copped on. So, okay, cool. We're good. All right, Ben, well, thanks for stopping by, man.
Of course, John. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat a little bit about the wild world that is Facebook ads and paid traffic and stuff that we're experiencing.
Yeah. So we're streaming the Facebook group. We'll have a few people on there. If you have any questions in the group, just feel free to leave one. So I'll get back to that or ask Ben. We're just recording this and we'll send this out after we're done. So cool. So let's just talk a little bit conceptually, Ben, about just to introduce Ben. Ben is a paid media, a media buying expert. He's worked with like Michael Port and Miracy. He's managed over $5 million in Facebook ads alone. So he's got a lot of experience in that world. And so I invited him over here because I know a fair amount about paid traffic and a few things conceptually, but I'm certainly not a deep expert like Ben is. So just to give everybody a perspective on Ben. So anyway, let's just start conceptually or contextually, Ben. Like, why would a B2B professional or an expert want to use paid traffic in their business?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I equate paid traffic to is speed, right? So that means both successfully or unsuccessfully. If you have the stomach for it, there's really no faster way to test an offer than driving it to people who don't know who you are. So that's like to cold traffic, or of course, what is preferential, right? Is if you have an offer that you've already proven the concept on some other platform, whether it's solo ads or email affiliates or whatever else, or just maybe your own internal network and list, and you want to scale that offer. There's no faster way than to literally go to a platform like Google or Facebook and just turn on traffic. Like, it's guaranteed people will see your offer. Now, the quality and all the other details aren't guaranteed, but literally you can turn on an ad, go to sleep, and wake up with clicks and ideally some conversions to give you some data about what's working and what's not fast.
Yeah. And you're buying speed, right? Like for testing offers. I don't know. So I guess the question is then when, like, cause it sounds great, and we all see the ads in our news feeds, right? With like, using Facebook ad funnels to generate, millions of dollars overnight or whatever you want to say. But it's not quite as simple as a lot of them make it out to be, right? I mean, you and I have worked together before on projects, and some of them do well out the gate, some take some tweaking, and some struggle to do well. And it's just a fact, like not all offers and marketing messages hit it out of the park, for people. So I guess the question would be then was like when should like a professional or an expert, add paid traffic or start using paid traffic? At what point in their journey would you say?
Sure. So I have two answers for that. The first answer is there's some paid traffic that you should use right away. So that's retargeting ads to closest to cash pages. Closest to cash just means if you are someone like, let's just assume everyone here has some sort of higher ticket program that involves a phone conversation. If not, you might just have a lead magnet or a different program. But either way, there's a page someone lands on right before they take an action. And that is a good indicator of interest, right? So if you make it all the way through my funnel, let's just say you do a webinar funnel, right? You watch my webinar, you really enjoy the content, you see the pitch, you actually make it to the link, you click the link, you join, but then, dinner goes off and you run before you purchase, then just life gets in the way, whatever, right? Now that's a person who's extremely interested and should see your face again, right? In multiple channels, because I actually had a really interesting thing happen with a client where he literally was using every channel you can think of pretty much, right? Like he was doing email, he was doing all sorts of social media ads, he was doing a bunch of stuff. And we were running this, it was like 45 days into this promotion. And he started having his team send out direct messages on LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. And the guy was like, oh, I had no idea. Like, oh, this sounds great. I had no idea, which is impossible, you would think, right? If you're being marketed to by email and SMS and all sorts of other stuff. So having that multi-channel touch is super important. So now the second answer is like, if you're not doing close to cash and you're looking to now scale, right? Like drive additional clicks and sales to that offer, then there's a couple of things to consider. The first is, do you want to run the ads yourself? So for most people that are a CEO of a company, I do not recommend running your own ads. You're probably just going to waste a bunch of time and stress yourself out and maybe get results, but you're going into it with that like kind of scarcity mindset, right? Like, oh, I don't want to pay someone $2, $3, $5, whatever $1,000 a month to run this. That's essentially you telling yourself that, oh, this isn't going to work anyway, so I'm not going to pay them to do it. And at that point also, if you're hesitant to make that investment, you probably aren't quite ready yet to run the ads yourself. But if you are interested in running ads, then I would say once you have a proof of concept yourself, I don't want to give a specific monetary value, but if you've had several sales conversations and you're starting to feel confident in your process and you've tweaked and optimized and ideally had, maybe an affiliate or something mail for you so you can get some people who don't know it's like who you are specifically going through your funnel and getting some traffic that way, that'd be good. Alternatively, which is what I think makes more sense, is once you've really proven the concept, like knocked it out of the park and you're doing north of maybe what you even thought your business ever would do. And ideally you have a back end offer that's at least $3,000, right? But preferentially much more, because that gives you much more flexibility to scale and do other things, and paid traffic is getting more expensive. So if you're that person, then you're ready to really dive in, I think, to full scale paid traffic. You have a proven offer, your business is successful, and you have the investment to pay someone to do it who's a professional and pay for ad spend without waiting up every night for a daily, click report, like just freaking out about every credit card statement that comes through. If you're going to be the person who's going to be, either checking your ads every half hour yourself, if you're doing it yourself, or annoying your media buyer, that you hired like every single day to go, why haven't we gotten sales yet? Why haven't we gotten that? Then you're probably not just mentally prepared for paid traffic.
Right. Yeah. And I always like to look at it as like kind of a layers, right? Like, most people who are starting out, let's just say, can spend a couple bucks, getting content in front of their email audiences or their fan page or, their website traffic and stuff like that, right? I mean, for $1 or $2 a day, even, you could start on some of that and start getting more omnipresent for your list.
That's great. Definitely. That's something you should do. And there's plenty of resources, and I'm actually putting one together. Real simple. It's called 3 Core Campaigns every business needs, and I'll just make sure that I get you the link for it so they can literally go through, set it up. It's like, what's that guy's name? Ron Paril, whatever, the set it and forget it guy. You made the rotisserie oven. You literally just turn the campaigns on, and like you said, for $1 a day or whatever, you can set those up. So yeah, everyone should have those.
Right. So there's really what everyone should realize is there's a variety of strategies for using paid traffic. Some can be just a few bucks and just sort of get you your brand top of mind for your audience. Get some of them to attend a video or see a blog post or watch whatever, like that's pretty cheap, and set it and forget it. Right. And then the other part of that is like, okay, if we're going to generate traffic, cold traffic, people have never heard of you, to a webinar or to some kind of thing, you better be prepared to have some funds. You should probably have things tested a bit. You shouldn't just rush out and blow 30 or 40 grand on a unproven marketing message or product and things like that.
Yeah, it's definitely
We've
the
seen
case.
that.
Yeah, definitely, right. And always be careful too. There's a public service announcement, right? Like in the internet marketing space especially, but I'm sure it's prevalent in other industries as well. Like just keep people's agenda in mind. Like if I sell the webinar course, or I sell the paid traffic, like I'm the paid traffic guy. So like obviously I hear someone and they're talking about, oh, I want to do content marketing. I'm like, don't do content marketing, right? You want to do paid traffic. Like, everyone has an agenda. And so keep that in mind when you're reading these messages that sound, too good to be true. And a lot of them, their systems and processes really are solid, but they just have to like take, the person that took their result, which like, let's say their process is good. Let's assume you're not dealing with a charlatan. Let's say you're dealing with someone who has a good process. What they've obviously done is cherry picked the people that like did the best, right? Like it's marketing, right? They're not being disingenuous, but the chances of you also repeating that success is minimal, let's say. So go into it realistically. Like if you hear someone that's like, how to get $15 out for every dollar you spend on traffic, chances are if that person was really doing that consistently for themselves, they wouldn't be showing you how to do it as well. Actually, this is something I realized kind of interesting. So about, course completion rate is roughly 8%, which is really, really poor, right? And I realized that like the quickest way for us to get rid of these info marketers who don't know what they're talking about and actually like get rid of this whole kind of vibe like that is to actually implement. Like the info marketer would die out if everyone actually just did what they said, because then they'd be flooding their market with like a mass amount of competitors, right? But they know literally they can sell this course 100 times for $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 or whatever, and literally, on the high end have 8 people actually go through it. And of that, like Bill is saying, of that 8% that complete it, even a smaller fraction actually go on to complete, implement, and win from it.
Yeah.
So it's a really good way to like claim, I want to make an impact and all that stuff, and know just your metrics. Like I'm not creating a real competitor, but I feel like if you were like, if you're Ford and you're pumping out, Toyotas and Hyundais and stuff, like, and you had a training program, Ford, how to build a dealership, and then suddenly Hyundai pops up, Toyota pops up, whatever, like you would probably stop selling that program,
Absolutely. Yeah. Bill says that's why coaches needed screw courses.
Actually, that's something really funny that's not exactly the topic of this call, but yeah, 100%. I've actually, when I first started out, I loved the shiny object stuff.
Sure.
Because it's enticing, it's sexy, right? But what I've now done is sworn off buying info products unless it's something I'm completely new to. Like I recently wanted to start getting into e-commerce, and I don't know anything about e-commerce, so I bought a course on e-commerce. But if I have any level of proficiency, I stopped buying any sort of training, and I'm like, I'd rather take that $1,000, and even if I only talk to that person for an hour with that $1,000, still get more. Just if you show your face, right? Like the relationship capital plus learning from them is.
That's why I stopped pushing courses on webinars and stuff a lot. I just didn't feel good about it anymore. But anyway. So just to wrap a bow on that, and let's move on. So for a lot of people, it's smart to have retargeting. It's smart to get your content in front of your current audience on a regular basis on like Facebook, for example, to stay omnipresent. That's just a few dollars literally per ad set, right? And you can have that running consistently. So you can, even for a couple $100 a month, you could be doing some good there. And then the other part is, driving cold leads and stuff like that from Facebook, for example. Smart to have your process in place, your message, your offer tested internally, potentially with a partner, before you go out there and really start. It's a whole different world, right? Going out to cold traffic with people that don't know you. So
yeah, definitely. Or alternatively, if you don't have the resources to use affiliates and do that other stuff, you need to go in with the mindset like, I think Eben Pagan was the first person I heard say this, who said 8 out of every 10 campaigns I launch bombs.
Yeah.
So if you go in with that mindset, like you're not bad. Like you're not really, and it's usually not even a massive issue, right? Like it's usually something small or several small things that add up to something big. So if you can go in and pre-test it and work the kinks out first, awesome, you know?
Yeah.
But a lot of times we don't have the opportunity to do that. So you just have to have the mindset like, this is a iterative, I don't know, whatever. There's
Iterative process. Yeah. Yeah. And that's business in general. Look, people want someone to give them a magic pill, and then we'll get back on topic here. A magic pill wrapped in a bow for them. Even professionals test things and fail. The answer is you have to test, right? And you have to figure it out. And working with a professional helps you accelerate that, saves you time, helps you reduce the risk of failure, but it's still testing, you know?
Sure.
So anyway, let's talk about hiring a professional, because as you said, and I agree with you, if you're a CEO of a company, or let's say you're making, you know, 10, 20, 30, 50, $100,000 a month or something like that, you are not the ads person, right? Like you need to know enough about the process, I feel like, so that you kind of can see this is a good person or not, or find someone who knows that to help you. But you're not going to be the one who's going to be creating all the ads and scaling the ads and all that kind of stuff. You're going to hire someone like Ben to do that. So talk a little bit about what people should look for as far as like hiring a professional, roughly how much cost and stuff, the range. I know that ranges a little bit. And then like, what are some key attributes you would look for somebody?
Yeah. So the first thing that you want to look for is this someone that actually comes recommended? That's the kind of cool thing about paid traffic space is it's smaller than you think, right? So you're usually no more than a couple degrees of separation away from someone who can tell you what's up with that person. So that's always the most valuable thing. If you don't have that sort of information, then I always request or would request some kind of video, like I'm not an expert at interviewing, so I wouldn't take my advice on how to, you know, hire necessarily all the way 100%. But I would want in the initial proposal phase or whatever, I would want some kind of video to just kind of introduce me to their steps, their process. Do they have an actual process, or do they just kind of go in and wing it, you know? And so I'd like to see some sort of breakdown of that process that they have. And then at that point, again, you do need enough knowledge to kind of go in and be competent. Like, oh, that makes sense. Like we turn this on, we test it, that works, we scale it, doesn't work, we shut it off, try something. Okay, cool. Like you have to have enough knowledge. So I guess the first thing is you need a baseline knowledge, which frankly, you could probably get in a 1 hour call with an expert, right? Super great network of people is ad skills.
Yeah.
AD skills. So that's also just a hack, right? Just join ad skills, post a thing, I need a media buyer, and you'll get a good one, pretty much. They have certifications, they're really good. So that would be the short version. Just join ad skills, it rocks. Justin and Justin Brook is super smart, incredible dude. John Belcher is like the smartest person like I've ever, luckily I've been able to ever talk to personally. He's on my very short list of people to connect with. He's brilliant. Like his stuff is amazing. But in terms of like, if you don't want to join that, you want to obviously have a video walking them through their process, showing them some results, testimonials. I'll tell you from firsthand experience, if you can avoid asking, hey, can I talk to these clients? That's a really good thing, because it's annoying, right? From being on the other end, like the person you're hiring, you're trying to build a relationship that's kind of cohesive. Like you're like, I think you've talked a lot about this, John, going more in as a partner versus like, I'm hiring this person to just be, they do what they say they're going to do, and they have no,
right.
Like, so if you can establish that sort of rapport from the beginning while also feeling comfortable with them as an expert. So do your research on them, get the video of their process, talk to them, trust your gut of their feeling. But if you can, try to avoid that. Do you have 2 or 3 people I can talk to? Because like, they're only going to send you people that are good anyway, right? That like them. So it's a stupid question to ask, first off. And then second off, it like ruins the vibe a little bit. And then third off, frankly, those people probably like have something better to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I got you a massive win and you're now at $58K a month, do you really have an hour in your calendar to talk to like, oh yeah, my media buyer is trying to close another client?
Yeah.
It doesn't create a great environment. I think the most important thing is getting the video of the process, understanding that they're confident in their process. If they have results specific to your niche, perfect. And if you can get references, great. And if you don't want to deal with any of that, go to AdSkills, certified media buyers, or just you can probably even private message one of those guys on Facebook or something, or email support, and they'll put you in touch with them.
Yeah, AdSkills has a good reputation, so you're probably not going to go wrong there. And they teach a variety of ads, I think, too, right, across the board. So I think I like what you said about the process. Professionals usually have processes that they're very easy to explain to you. Like so digging into like, what's the process if our ads don't or stop working or something like that, like, or they don't work, like how do we adjust, or kind of like quizzing them a little bit on some of their processes. And as you said, it's good to have just a little bit of a baseline knowledge. Like that's where maybe a course could come in handy, where at least you can get kind of up to speed on the big picture stuff. And then from there, not that you're learning to hire or to do it yourself, but you're learning to sort of be educated on how to hire somebody and things like that. And then looking for results, obviously testimonials and things like that. It seems to make sense. So cool, man. So how about a process then, Ben? So let's talk. We started this a little bit, but maybe we could talk for just a couple minutes on like, do you have a sequence in mind across like Facebook, Google Ads, YouTube, all of that you follow for people? Like, let's say warm audience to cold. Do you have like a sequence that you recommend people start and go through?
Yeah, so the first thing I have people set up is like those 3 core campaigns. So the first is, this should be, every business has this. These are the ones that are super inexpensive. And the cool thing is the process, once you've got it in place, it's really easy to duplicate if you add an additional offer, additional product, additional funnel step or something. So the first is a Google brand keyword search. So that's literally, you take your brand keywords, which is things like your domain, your name, product names, book, if you have one, anything like that. Anything that people, essentially, like I just said, let's say you're about to get hired, right? Someone's Googling your business. You want to control what Google shows those people. Also, you look competent when someone goes on and goes, oh, wow, someone's bidding on this keyword. They have an ad running on Google. They must be, a big deal, right? And some people don't know how simple it is to set that up. So that can help you with your positioning. But also, it'll just help you show the right stuff to people. Like, you want to control Google. So first is Google search.
How much does that cost usually? Like, is it a few bucks a month or something?
Yeah, like if you're a big brand, like you probably wouldn't spend more than, until you're really big. Like I would say for almost everyone watching this, it would be hard for you to spend over $1 a day, so honestly.
Another low dollar a day type campaign. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's cool because it's super cheap, because Google recognizes like, oh, John Schumacher's bidding on John Schumacher. So you win the auction because
right.
you appreciate that relevance.
Yeah.
The second campaign is closest to cash retargeting on Facebook, another cheap campaign, which is someone like my clients. I prefer to work with clients who already have a product or program that's existing, that's working, because in my experience, just from the media buying end, like I understand most of the people on this call are the people, paying for the service or whatever. But taking there's very few clients I've found that have the fortitude to take an unproven offer, hire someone, pay them 2 or 3 months before it still works, and then like still have a good relationship. So I prefer to have someone that's already got traffic going to an offer that's working. And you can go in and simply add in some basic retargeting ads that cover the different types of proof. So closest to cash retargeting would be like, just to say let's just say the sales page before they buy. So someone that landed on that sales page went through a number of processes, or a number of steps happened to get them to that page, but they didn't convert. Why? Most of the time it comes down to they don't believe you for some reason. So that's when you inject social proof, which is the testimonials and case studies and that sort of thing, or demonstrative proof is case studies, or just literally going inside your course and program and showing them the method. Hey, here's what happened. Here's the result. Demonstrative proof, super powerful, especially in a B2B space where people are looking to get a tangible result. Typically, it's not like woo-woo. We're looking to get an actual like thing built. I want a campaign built or a funnel built. If you can go in and show them that, that's awesome. So there's third-party proof as well, which is like, let's say you're someone who sells LinkedIn training. You can talk about how, LinkedIn has 500 million members and 325 million active, monthly members, all that stuff, right? To just boost up your credibility without it being you. So like you cover all those I don't believe yous. And there's different types of proof. You can Google them, but retarget with proof. And then the third one, I guess part 1C is the content boosting to your warm audience. That would be your email list, your social media followers, your LinkedIn connections, which they recently stopped letting you export emails with those.
That'd be a matter of time. Yeah.
but that's okay. There's ways around it or whatever. You can also just connect. Hopefully you're driving everyone to your list anyway, so you can remarket with people that way. And that's the beginning part. Then other than that, like most companies don't have the budget. Like that's phase one, right? Other than that, most companies don't have the budget, and even companies that do have the budget oftentimes don't launch multiple products at one time, right? This might be a little different in your e-commerce where you might find 3 to 5 things you think could win and shut it off. But that's usually because they have lower cost per acquisition and you can find winners quicker, because like you can spend $40 or $60 on an ad set for a product that you need to sell for 25 and be like, oh crap, something's wrong, and shut it off. Whereas in B2B, if you're dealing with a program or a product that is $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, how can you tell after $50 spent whether that campaign is working? Maybe tomorrow is the day you get the click that leads to the conversion, that leads to the phone call, that leads to you selling 15 grand. It's like a little bit more convoluted. So I like to try to keep it as simple as possible and launch Justin Brook, and actually ad skills, they call it 3x5 or 5x3 method rather, but it's any number of ad sets. So the way Facebook or Google or anything works is there's a campaign where you set your conversion goal, right? Like what you want people to do, whether it's opt-in or, click over to a page or whatever it is. Then the ad set, or in Google, it's called the ad group, is where you add in all the details about the audiences that you're going to target. And then the ads are obviously the ads. And so what I like to think of is my process is real simple. I do a ton of customer research. I write the biggest pain and problem that customer is having, and I write one ad copy to start, right? I write one ad copy to start, and I choose 3 to 5 different creatives. So that would be images with text overlay or maybe no text overlay. So that's your ad process, right? Do a ton of research, write one ad copy, and then choose different images, right? To give Google or Facebook some alternative, although not Google, right? But give Facebook some options.
So at this point, are you using a lookalike audience first, or like customer list lookalike if they have that, and kind of looking for the warmest lookalikes, and then you're creating the 3 to 5 different creatives?
Yeah. So if they have a lookalike, absolutely, I start with lookalike. If not, then you start with most relevant interests possible. And this process is changing a little bit. It used to be just add one interest per ad set to test that interest truly, but now Facebook wants wider audiences. So you're kind of putting them now in audience interest groups. So like your lookalikes, that doesn't count. So for people who don't know, a lookalike is when you add an email list or some sort of automation or some sort of a connection list. It could be based on social media engagement, Instagram followers, Facebook page followers, people that have viewed or interacted with your Facebook page, even if they haven't followed you. But the most powerful one is typically an email list. You upload it to Facebook. Facebook does its data guru freaky stuff, and they match between 50 and 500 data points is what they say they do. And it creates a list of 1% to 10% of the population. And I start with the US. So that comes to 2.1 million people. I think it's the adult population is what it must be. So 2.1 million people was the 1% audience, all the way up to about 20 million people is the 10% audience. And so, yeah, so to start with the campaign, I'll set it for the most simple conversion that's highest up the funnel. So like if you're trying to get people to watch a full webinar and opt in for your booking a call, right? It usually makes more sense to optimize the ad for the first conversion in the funnel so you can get more conversions, so opt-ins, not calls booked. That's what retargeting ads will be optimized for. So then in the ad sets, you've got the different audiences, starting with lookalikes or relevant interest groups. So if you're doing something in education, you could put, like higher ed, you could put all the higher ed interests that you find in one ad set, and et cetera. And then you've got the lookalikes, and then you've got the one ad copy with the 3 to 5 image variations, and you use the same 3 to 5 images in all of your ad sets. So you're testing the same creative against different audiences. So the first thing that you're testing is audiences.
Yeah.
Right. Then once you've got a winning audience, then in that winning audience, you test different ad creatives to try to optimize further.
It's kind of like mining for a vein of gold, right? You got to kind of find that vein of qualified buyer traffic the best you can, especially in the colder areas. So, so after that initial layer of, the Google ads for your name, the retargeting and the content boosting and all that, then the next layer for you would be to go out to cold Facebook or like lookalike or interest bundle Facebook, or are you going to YouTube as well, or Google display, or when any of those other platforms for people to look at that point when they're looking to venture out beyond their current warm audience?
Yeah, so the easiest one to set up is probably Facebook. But what's cool, I'm actually over the last year or so, I've becoming a little bit more disenfranchised with Facebook ads. They're just doing some stuff after the Cambridge Analytica scandal. They pulled off a lot of like the cool stuff that you used to be able to do. So Facebook's trend, the way that they take things, at least in my experience over the last 7 or so years, is they push the limit absolutely as far as they can, way beyond where they ever should, hoping to not get caught. They get caught doing something, they pull back way too far to reconserve, and then it kind of trickles back up to like a medium thing. And right now they're in the pulling phase, which means that they're doing things like removing a lot of demographic data, which is in B2B. If you're looking for qualified prospects that are, running actual small businesses, not just, Joe Blow down the way who's like CEO of megastar, enterprises, when really it's just like, he's just like sells baseball cards out of his freaking, whatever, his Toyota, like, and calls himself the CEO. Like Facebook used to be much better at determining legitimately, who was what. And now it seems like they're not doing that as well. So what I've been going more towards is not so much Google search. That's a different thing. Like, and you can do that, but you can get pretty crazy with your clicks and stuff, which can just make some metrics difficult to meet on the front end. Although Google is super hot buyer intent. So I do like Google ads, but if we're trying to do it as efficiently as possible, then the happy medium between that mass reach of Facebook with the ability to target a little bit better is actually, for me, YouTube is like a big opportunity right now for a lot of people, because it's still in its pretty much infancy. It's still inexpensive, and you can target very, very specifically down to a specific, running your ads before a specific video. So if you know that your people love whoever, right? Like they love watching something random even, that's even better, because then if you're in a niche where like this guy's the authority, you can literally, if he's got his thing turned on, then you can, like the ability to run ads on his channel, then you can literally run your ad congruent, like so congruent with his video. Like let's say that like you're a real estate trainer or something, and you follow, what's that guy, doesn't matter, some Remax dude who's got tons of followers, tons of this, and he talks about 10 easiest real estate lead gen deals. You can literally create a video that's like, hey, I know you're interested in the 10 easiest real estate deals you've ever, whatever. Did you know that 3 of those are actually 100% easier to close with no overhead than like you can go that specific. And I can imagine if you just searched, how to close more real estate deals, and the video that comes in front of the video you're looking for addresses that like perfectly, you're going to catch some good attention. And when at the same time you are getting those views for, well, first off, the cool thing about YouTube is if they don't watch 30 seconds of the videos, you don't get charged.
Right.
But if they do, then even then you're going to be getting views for 1, 2, 5, 10, 12 cents.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like a great opportunity. I know we have a couple questions in the chat. We'll get to those in a second because there are a couple good questions here as well. But yeah, cool. So YouTube you see as a big opportunity. I mean, you could literally, if you're like a financial planner, like find the biggest financial planning channel on YouTube and find some of the best videos and say, I want to put my financial planning video on this guy's or gal's videos and get really targeted leads. Cool. So yeah, YouTube
locally as well too. So let's say you're a local financial planner and you only work with people in Denver or something. You can literally reduce the radius. Again, this is why Google's like pretty cool opportunity, because they're allowing you to be really granular with that without affecting things. Whereas the Facebook algorithm needs a lot of flexibility because they want an audience of 50 million people to find you the best performers. Google's algorithm is very different. Like, they want you to show them the people. Like, just tell us who you want us to show the ad to, and we will show that. Like, almost the more specific you can get, the better in some ways. And it's pretty cool because on Facebook, if you were to try to do that, Denver financial planners, you would be paying who knows how much for an impression and click and conversion ultimately, which is really good.
And the quality of the lead too, right? I mean, Facebook is chilly cold, right? In many cases for, when you're going out into new audiences, and like Google, like you say, is much more intent based.
Mm-hmm.
And,
right. That's huge to talk
huge.
about.
Yeah.
Like Facebook, it's like Aunt Susie's remarried, sister
interest based.
sister had a new baby. In between that, you've got how to be a better financial planner. And it's like, you better have a really good ad, a really good ability to connect, or just a mindset that understands, like, this is going to be a process for me to convert someone from that. Whereas on Google or YouTube, you've got someone, like you said, intent-based, where they are literally looking for a solution to a problem. And if you this is almost cool because I feel like a lot of expert marketers or expert business owners, people, meaning that not you're an expert at business, but your business is an expert business, right? Like, meaning you have a specific skill, like a consultant in a particular vertical or whatever, right? I feel like a lot of those folks might have a hard time marketing or getting their solution across in really sexy language that like stands out on Facebook and gets the click and gets people all riled up. Whereas on YouTube or Google, if you have someone searching for the exact problem you solve and your video comes up and literally solves that problem. I had this happen the other day. I watched the most boring 12-minute screen share video ever because I needed to set up a particular Zap, right?
Mm-hmm.
A Zap from Slide Broadcast. I want to figure out how to automate Slide Broadcast.
Right.
And I Googled, how do I automate Slide Broadcast? And it was the most boring video ever, but it was perfect step-by-step solution.
You still use Slide Broadcast? I thought, those automated messages, those silent messages are no bueno anymore.
It wasn't for me. I wouldn't recommend using it, but this guy wanted it really bad. So, so I had to figure out how to do it, right? Okay. Trying to be a problem solver or whatever. But yeah, that's a different story. I wouldn't recommend doing that. There's all sorts of, you fall under like telemarketing laws and a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Anything about. But yeah, it was the video, the 12 minutes, boring as hell, perfect. So that's a guy that I'm sure doesn't have a sexy solution to describe what he does. Like, I would be very surprised if he's the guy you meet at the conference that like you remember and are excited to talk to. But this video was awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, I get most of my inbound leads from Google and YouTube already, and I do a lot of organic stuff because I've just been doing it for a long time, but they're so much better, like in actual businesses versus Facebook. Facebook's obviously can be very scalable if you can get that to work well, but I don't know. It's just you're weeding through. It's kind of like finding a diamond in the rough a little bit, or a needle in a haystack. Especially if you're like me, like I don't want to work with volume, like high volume, like these coaching farms that are out there, or these kind of things. Like I just want like really good clients to partner and align with, and so for me, like more of a rifle approach is good versus a shotgun approach, right? I guess kind of depends on your business model. But
yeah, absolutely. If you're trying to sell to a mass consumer market, then you probably will, unless you are kind of in a world I'm not super familiar with, and you're kind of in that like supplement affiliate world, right? Which is kind of its own place. Unless you're in that world, chances are if you really want to scale an offer to volume consumers, you're going to end up on Facebook.
Yep.
Which means you're dealing with all the rules of Facebook. But if you're someone, again, who's an expert business owner, you're someone who sells a higher ticket, and of course you're someone like yourself where you've got credibility in the industry, and if you can be getting some organic traffic, then that's awesome, because you build, there's no better way to build authority than someone searching for something and building an affinity with you. But you might be able to just speed up that process slightly with some paid traffic, especially if it's supplemental, right? Like if someone lands and watches your super guide on application funnels and they spent 10, 12 minutes on the page or whatever, and you can show them a second ad that's congruent, they might have found that anyway, right? It might be like the part 2 of your blog or whatever it is. But if you can say, all right, anyone that's met this credential, they should see this right away, and you can do it for pennies, then you can take your organic process and speed it up a bit. But if you're more like a rifle approach, then definitely I recommend being more on the intent-based marketing.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's 100 times better if that's your model, for sure. Otherwise, we've both run seen ad campaigns through funnels and stuff. God, we built at least 25 or so different application funnels, and Facebook traffic can be awesome if you can get it to work, but it can also be loads of calls, even if you try to filter them the best you can. It depends on your business model. We'll just have to leave it at that. It's very much like hire an expert who understands your business model, who understands how to match your business model and your vision and desires to the appropriate ad platforms and messages and funnels and all that kind of stuff, because it's very much, there's no one magic pill for every type of business, and cycles are different for every kind of.
Definitely not. And for sure, Facebook's strong. So I'm actually trying to find this. This is a really cool graphic, but I don't know exactly where it went.
Well, let's
So this, or no, it isn't. It's not this one. But what you just said is like the most strong function of Facebook is for retargeting.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, cool. Let's talk a little bit about funnels, maybe a couple minutes, and then we'll move the conversation along and kind of wrap things up, because I think we've already been on for about 40 minutes already. So as far as like funnels and stuff, now obviously funnels, you have an ad, and you can, again, we've talked about some different ad options, and you need to obviously send those people to something, pages and messages and stuff like that, where people can, either book a call with you, they can consume some information, whatever that may be. In most B2B instances that are selling higher end services, like those are the majority of the people I like to work with. Usually it's through a call, like a phone call. So, I've seen a number of these funnels on the back end as well, but I'm just curious what you're seeing in your world as far as some of the better funnels. Like, is it, a YouTube video to a VSL that's doing well for booking qualified calls, or is it, Facebook to a long form webinar? Like, what are you seeing on your side?
Yeah, that's actually a super interesting question, because I've seen some things that surprised me, because I used to really be a big fan of the webinar model, right? Like opting in. So the two things I've seen work well now today, it kind of makes sense, right? With the shortened attention span. The first is I think Joel Irway calls it the mini webinar, but before it was a mini webinar, it was just called a video, right?
He just renamed it. It's a video.
Yeah. But it's about
the VSL.
Yeah, and it works great for him, and he's doing apparently really well with that model. And it worked well for the people that have applied it, that talked to him. I had a client talk to him and be like, what would you recommend? They said, he said mini webinar. So they put together their mini webinar, and it's actually doing really, really well for a few reasons. Like, one, I think it just makes sense if you're busy B2B, assuming, again, these are like looking for, higher ticket clients, like phone call clients. You are not taking a lot of their time. I know that when I started to achieve a bit more success in my business, it became a lot harder to map or find 2 or 3 like before, that used to be the selling point. We're going to be on live for 3 hours. And I was like, oh my God. Now it's like, we're going to be on live for 3 hours. How am I ever going to watch this? I don't have time to watch that. So the 15-minute video gives you a chance to just really hit your key points. Boom, 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 boom. And then at that point, driving them to a qualifying application after they book their call to like try to screen them. So that's the first thing that worked really well. And the second one is an ad actually to, it's a bit more convoluted, but it's working really well in B2B, like energy provider spaces. So like I've got a client, they are an agency that works with solar companies to get them more deals, right? So what their funnel is it's a Facebook ad, although I imagine the front end, I'm actually going to experiment with some of the things we talked about today because I am becoming a little bit less fond of Facebook, but it's actually a Facebook lead ad that gets you their initial contact information. The lead ad redirects to a type form survey, so you can get some preliminary information. They then register a 15-minute triage call, which qualifies the prospect. That's the qualifying phase of the process. So Facebook lead ad to get that initial information, to follow up with the type form. So like if they don't finish the type form, they get contacted using that initial information. Hey, we didn't get your type form. And that's the automations that I was actually setting up, the Sly broadcast. And they did some SMS stuff and of course email when they join. And then after the type form, they have the triage call. The triage call qualifies them for the full strategy session, at which point they pitch one of their programs. And it's actually from cold traffic to solar client, right? Buying a good portion, right? Like their entry level package is I think the lowest level of program they have is like $2,500 or something. So they're not dealing with super low ticket, and it goes all the way up to like $25,000 or $50,000 retainers, and they're getting people on the phone quite affordably, for that model, which I was pretty surprised because it seemed kind of redundant, but it was it's getting them pretty qualified. So literally the sales call is becoming an order taking call, which is what you want it to be, right? The only people getting through to your sales manager or whatever, or your sales team, who's like your back end closer guys or whatever, literally I've gone through so much that they're pretty much picking their package they're not like, I'm not sure. They're like, well, do you want this one, or this one?
Right.
And which is a pretty cool place to be, obviously, if you're a salesman. And
especially from Facebook. I mean, that's pretty good, Yeah,
and they structured things in a way that's like pretty interesting. And of course, the sales team's really happy because their closer now is taking all these calls.
Yeah.
That aren't any work, and he still gets his whatever 15% or something.
Yeah. Well, someone will definitely have to hire you if they want that kind of funnel, because some people's heads are probably like, "Huh? Like, what is all that we just said?" We just talked Swahili there a little bit, but but anyway, So my view on that is, I agree with you on the application funnels, like the mini webinar, like Joel calls it, or basically it's a VSL. Your best prospects have more money than time in most cases, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they want to kind of, I call them get to the point funnels, where it's kind of like, I see something, I'm educated enough, let me find out if this is for me, I'm going to book a call, that kind of thing. Especially if you're booking calls, that's the way to go, a shorter VSL. Or if you're selling a trial, even like a video sales letter page can be pretty good for like software. If you're selling like a course, like a 197 to 1997, an auto webinar course where you're trying to sell it directly on the webinar, like I'm consulting on I consulted on one of those recently where they're doing about $100K a month in course sales. For them, they're going to want a longer form webinar, for that kind of sale. But for booking a call with high end prospects, definitely these get to the point funnels are doing better than some of the longer form ones. Yeah.
And that's like, I'm actually in a cool experience now because I just bought a course, which I haven't done in like a couple of years.
You just said you didn't do that.
Which was, I didn't do that for things I feel comfortable in.
I get you. Yeah.
But if I'm new, which is exactly what you said, right? And a lot of that new stuff, you have to get over all the head games people are playing. Whereas like at a certain point, let's just assume you're talking to your ideal prospect, which is a CEO of a company, right? For me or for you or most people listening, it's either the marketing manager or CEO of a company. And they kind of get it. They're like, yeah, I need help with this. This is a problem for me in my division or whatever. Let's solve the problem. I think you're the guy that can solve the problem. Whereas for me, with this, like that's what I usually am. That's the world I usually live in. So it was really interesting to kind of jump out and be like, Oh, so like I don't really know much. I know some of the skills required. Like I understand the traffic side of things, but like I don't know how to sell a fridge on the internet. So I was like really interested in hearing how to how his story and like some case studies and stuff. And at the end, I was going to buy it anyway, but it was interesting to kind of like pull myself out of that and like just look at it from the outside in almost and see what it's like to be a beginner again. And so if you're a beginner and you're selling information product, probably longer form webinar with relentless, brutal follow-up, more or less. And then if you're selling something direct, then you're going to do short, like you said, get to the point. Or Doberman Dan just released a book called "Just Sell the Damn Thing."
Yep, that's
so
true.
You're going to do one of those things, and then follow it up relentlessly.
Yep. Have a really good offer, and have a really good message. And if you're targeting higher end, less but better people, if they see the connection, they're gonna, and they have that pain, they're gonna inquire, and then it's up to you to enroll them, obviously. But anyway, let's move on. One more question, then I want you to tell people where they can find out more about you. So what are some of the couple of the biggest trends you see happening? We've discussed, probably weaved a bit of that throughout this discussion already, kind of get to the point webinar or get to the point funnels and different ads and stuff. But I mean, if you had to dig into your brain and say, what are one or two of the biggest trends you're seeing right now in the PPC world, what would that be?
Facebook is starting to hate direct response, like badly. So that's unfortunate for me because that's my favorite type of thing. Like I like the idea of creating a message that stirs up emotion and pain and all that stuff. And Facebook never allowed you to write like hardcore direct response, but now it's difficult. It really is. And it's becoming, so the trend is it's become more difficult to write direct response, and you're becoming more and more reliant on having a lot of creative. Like creative is dying out in 7 to 14 days usually. So you need a ton, and by creative I mean images or videos. So it's a bummer that you need to kind of do that. Like before, it used to kind of be, Facebook used to kind of be the quick and dirty place where you could go on and launch an ad real quick and see some results really, really fast. And you can still do that to a certain extent, but a lot of it, they're favoring advertisers now that are able to weave branding with direct response better. So that's something I would say is becoming more and more important for you to, if you don't have one now, to find someone that you can work with to create really, really cool graphics and videos, because it's super important to stand out in the news feed there. They're also removing a lot of targeting options. So that's the first thing, and that's probably the thing that would impact most people on the platform. That's like the biggest one. Okay. And then other trends is just cost. Like I tell people to just get their head out of the sand, right? Like you can bury it if you want and pretend like it was 2 years ago and 3 years ago when insert blank worked. But if you are not building a model that's like Dan Kennedy says and all the other people say that are around being able to spend the most on a customer and being okay maybe even with losing money on the front end to scale with paid traffic, although if you shouldn't be losing money if you have a super high ticket offer, but it is getting more expensive, period. Like I don't care how you look at anything or the certain ninja hack or whatever, like at the end of the day, it's more expensive. I think Dennis Yu from Blitz Metrics, didn't he say it's something like in the last 2 years, a click is
38%
up, and that's since the beginning of 2017.
Yeah. I did a quick interview with him a couple of years ago for a speech I was giving at a conference, and he said it's about 30%. Link click CPC is about 30% year over year if you're comparing apples to apples. I mean, obviously that costs per click vary by industry a lot, right? But yeah, it's going to continue to go up. So that's even more important to have the ability to maximize customer lifetime value, right? Have a strong back end, have a high end offer. I mean, it's
the two other things is having the high end on the back. If you're going to scale with paid traffic, at this point, you probably like literally need a miracle to do anything better than break even at $200 to $500 price point. Like, unless you just have, the willingness to take the time to figure out how to get that AOV where you want it to be, which I don't know how many people, I don't know many people that have that. Unless of course it's like my own offer, like I'm willing to do anything to get that up, but most people aren't willing to pay, an agency or whatever, month after month after month to try to, butt their head against the wall. And then the other thing, so the high ticket back end is super important. And then the other thing is just focus on follow-up. I've got an email from Ben Settle the other day, who's not personally, right? I'm on his email list. I don't want to try to I was speaking with, the royalty of marketing, but I got the email and he was talking about how one of his customers said that it took him over 2,000 emails. Of course, Ben Settle's thing, if you don't know, is he sends a daily email.
At least daily.
So that means, give or take, the guy was on his list for 5 to 6 years before he purchased. And I read another thing that was Dean Jackson, which said that over 90% of your sales from your email list are going to come after 90 days of someone being on your list, which makes sense because, 3 to 5% of people are hyperactive buyers and everyone else is kind of a wait and see, prove me wrong. So it's at least 90% of people are not going to purchase for 3 months. So you better build your model that way. Like if you need a cash flow positive model in 90 days, then be honest and upfront about that. And maybe paid traffic isn't the way for you to do it. Maybe you have to go more of an affiliate thing and just kind of focus on retargeting, or you have to change what you're selling to introduce. There's a lot of possibilities that happen when you introduce a program that's higher ticket. You really have a lot more flexibility. But
it makes it so much easier. Yeah. So, I remember like in 2014, 2015, when I was running ad funnels, I would run my own Facebook ads and it was so easy. I just pick one interest target and then I'd opt in for, I can't remember how much a cost per lead was. It was cheap. And then I would have a little $47 offer right away and people would buy that. Enough people would buy that or in the initial follow-up to liquidate my ad spend, usually within 48 hours or less, back then. So it was just all like free leads back then.
Yeah. That was cool. I used to build the same type of funnels with my friends. Like it was like something where I'm like, why did we turn that off? Like we'd make like $200-300 and shut it off and go try to something else. It's like, why didn't we just leave that on?
So very cool, Ben. Well, where can people find out more about you? And then I'm going to stop the recording here for the for the YouTube, and because I'm going to use this recording in a few different places. But cool. And then we'll answer a couple questions if you have a couple minutes still.
Definitely.
Where can people hear about you more, find out more about you?
So I have a personal Facebook. You can find me, Ben Marcoux, Marcoux. Also, you can email me, ben@bmxmarketing.com. And I do not have a website. That is a very intentional decision. I'm actually pretty much behind the scenes, of a lot of things that work mainly with referrals. So I can provide you a bunch of proof if you're interested in proof that I'm not a charlatan. But if you're looking for the sleek and sexy website, I do not have one.
Come on, Ben. We got to get you one, man. Yeah, it makes it so easy. But you may have enough deal flow right now. You're good. So we'll see. Okay, cool. So yeah, it's Ben Marcoux, and then it's ben@bmxmarketing.com.
bmxmarketing.com.
BMX, like the bike, marketing.com.
Yeah, which created a bit of confusion. I'm hoping that they don't find out.
Yeah, no kidding, huh? All right. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed this, listening to the replay. I'm going to stop the recording now on in Zoom rather, and answer a couple questions we have, and then I'll stop the recording streaming on Facebook. So I'm going to stop the recording for Zoom here right now.